because it's a single mother, she is trying to raise the boy to be a husband instead of being a child. So from very early, she as a single mother is telling the boy that he need to go out and look the food and get the money and all of these things because the father, there's not that father in the household. And because there isn't the father in the household, he has to get that 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 upbringing or that socializing on how to be a man from environments and from men who might not necessarily be the best examples, right? So the notion of there is the absent parent, but there's also the present absent parent, meaning a parent that is present but isn't teaching the child all the things that the child needs in order to be a holistic human being. So we cannot, and I know we love to blame the father when the father is present, but we also want to blame the father when the father is absent, which is one of the biggest issues. But we also have to understand that part of the responsibility is on the mother as well. Every dancehall artist have a song about mama. Every single artist have a dancehall artist have a song about mama,
yes,
right? And the mother has a very significant influence on the child, especially the young boy. So we can't gloss over it. I don't think it's controversial because it's actually evidence based right now, right? Mm-hmm.
Well, controversial doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing.
No. True.
And people often say to me, I'm controversial because you speak things that everybody think about,
but they don't
want to say it. The data speaks to it. I mean, it's well over 40%, I believe, and that is very high. A lot of men who even themselves become perpetrators of violence and abuse towards their partner, data is pointing to many of them come from homes where they were abused by their mothers. But you don't hear those. You don't hear those type of narratives because it goes contrary to what is deemed palatable. You understand? Now the reality is, and for me,
I'm struggling to digest that one.
For me, a mother cannot father a child. There are just some things. So a part of fathering is a provide, a protect, which we know of traditionally. But a part of it is for a man to model and to nurture as well. And I believe a part of a boy being raised to be a man, he has to see that demonstration from a man. And I think we need to understand that. Now, I also believe that a lot of times the mother, quote unquote, is forced to try too because the father is not around. So we acknowledge that, but we cannot just ignore that some mothers also deliberately withhold father-child relationship. And data is pointing to a lot of things where that is concerned. And the truth is, if we want to look at this whole thing in its holistic sense, we have to be honest with ourselves and come with the topic and look at it and dissect it, even though it is controversial.
And as you say, it's heavy to deal with.
Yeah, man, it is.
A lot of people
we understand
would have been shocked at what you just said.
That's all
right. Would have disagreed with it. Where you get that stats from? Yeah.
Data is there.
Wow.
Right. And especially and now in this day and age, you have more men who are actually willing and stepping up to be fathers than before. There was an issue with fathers, with men having a lot of children, but not necessarily fathering them. Right. But that is changing.
Yeah.
You have more men who are excited, eager, giving their all, right, to be fathers. There's so much want to be in the child's life in every single way. So it is changing. So I do feel like the public narrative needs to change, right? The public narrative needs to change. And please, when fathers, they come, as much as, many people have been raised by single parents and single mothers, please don't make the post big up to the mother who big up to my mother and Father's Day, I mean, it does more harm than good.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm glad you said it.
Regardless.
I'm glad you said it.
And just the point too, I mean, Doc does the research, but even anecdotally, observation at the antenatal clinics, you will see, and I've spoken to practitioners there, gynecologists, etc. They see more fathers. You go to the PTA meetings, more fathers. In fact, Dr. Herbert Gale himself said data points to, since independence, more father presence. Mark you, we understand that fatherlessness does not necessarily mean the absence of daddy from the home, because daddy can be there but very much absent. And you alluded to that. So we understand that. But there, we must give props, because I think a particular generation is being a bit more deliberate in making effort to be present and to be effective as fathers.
And that's where we're going next. Some of the positive aspects of modern day masculinity that you believe should be celebrated and encouraged. So before you continue on that, I pick up my girls at school a lot of the times, and when I go to pick them up, and I pick up one before the next, and we usually go on the playground to wait for the other one.
Oh, you want to go on the playground, Brian?
I mean, not around to swing 2 times. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
all, the
just
men in here,
just
all,
admit
the,
it.
all the men in here who swing for swing hands up. All of them. All right, right.
Yeah.
So
swing with caution.
Yeah, we swing.
Definitely.
But it's a lot of men.
Yeah.
On the playground with their children.
Oh yes.
And I always make posts about it on IG. I am happy when I see that. They are making the effort to change the narrative. They're making the effort to not be what their fathers were or were not, or their uncles or whoever. So what else can we celebrate in this modern day masculinity?
I think men are more expressive.
Pause. Men are zoom in. You can zoom in. Men are more expressive. We communicate. We try to talk. We try. We didn't get it perfect, but we try.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to draw this, and I see more men. I'll give you an example. Embracing profession like nursing, which speaks to a change in the tide. And I think it's a good thing. You understand? I think it's a good thing. So, and we have mentioned over and over the whole thing of fathering. Men have always cooked, really. But I see men, based on the men that I work with, a lot more time with homework. Men make more effort some of the men that I know, the whole pickup thing, I can identify with you. That's a serious bonding time with my children, Yeah, man, how was your day, etc. Tell me who they have crush on and stuff like that. And, trying to navigate that space.
I do ask my children that. My girls now tell me, no, who them have no crush.
Yeah, well, mine do,
Talk to mommy. I joke, Bria, if you're watching.
Some of the conversation is uncomfortable. Yeah. So, like, my daughter would see an ad with a condom and say, Daddy, what is that? Yeah. And you know what I said, Brian? I said, go ask him, madam.
We've all done it.
So, those are just some of the things that I see.
Yeah. Go ask mommy, Steffon.
So expression is increasing and it's improving.
Right.
But when you study masculinity, you realize that one of the flaws or one of the issues is that we judge men's ability to express by a feminine standard. And research will tell you that, especially with our girl children, we spend 3 times more time and attention teaching young girls how to express themselves than boys. And so by the time the boy becomes a man, there's a limited range of expression, but the openness and willingness to express themselves is changing, right? But I wanted to also add something in the chat. Someone said that unfortunately some of us women don't have a choice but to withhold the child from the father because of abuse and such, right? But research is also telling you that more men are reporting domestic violence and abuse than any time before. So it is changing. Right. So it is changing. We're realizing that it's no longer black and white anymore. We are realizing that when we talk about gender-based violence, although the majority still overwhelmingly women as victims, men are also reporting that they're experiencing violence. And that is a good thing when it comes to the notion of masculinity changing, because again, we've been taught and we've been raised to grin and bear it. And there was a time if a woman beat a man, he is ridiculed.
Yes.
Right? He is ridiculed. And in response to the ridicule, him got to do something, him got to kill a woman. And then because in his mind, he feels like the society is telling him that this is what he needs to do in order to validate his masculinity. So it's a very dangerous cycle. It's a very, very, very dangerous cycle. But more men are expressing themselves. More men are trying to find ways to solve conflicts without jumping directly to violence. Is it changing rapidly? Not necessarily, but it is changing gradually.
Right. Omar is saying also with abuse, most times the females are more abusive to a male child. So
yes. So again and again, this is research. Young boys are abused a lot more by men and also women. But boys are more neglected by their parents 3 times more than girls in Western societies, at least, right?
Go on your own, go be a man. You don't need mommy and daddy time. And
yeah, right. Exactly.
Another one that we hear.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Another one that we hear a lot is the boy child in the home. You're the man of the house, you know. That come with a load of pressure, you know.
Yeah, right? Man, I heard that too.
You know, and people don't understand how damaging that is. You know, we made mention of how dancehall artists in general sing a lot of songs about their mothers. Now, I do psychotherapy, and it's amazing how many men who speak generally or openly positively about their mothers who resent the very same mother.
Wow. Boy,
because
some heavy
yes,
food
mommy was there when daddy wasn't.
But
mommy ensure food on the table.
But
mommy ensure clothes on the back, and she motivate me. But when you dig deep, boy, mommy they say some stuff, and mommy this and mommy that, some wounds. But it is that you have to respect your mother still, because she did hold it. Yeah. You understand?
She was
there. And but when you get them in a space, you hear some stuff coming out. So sometimes the song, yeah, and it look good and it fit, but underneath all of that, there's something there.
Right. So we're getting into the meat of the matter. It's been heavy so far, and you know we want to break it a little. Big ups to all of you in the chat. I see you commenting. Norman Hines says, I have a great relationship with my children. Kudos to you, Sir Norman. And we have, it's time for a giveaway. You know, Jane, you know, they care about you. And, you know, I love that about the Jane family. And with Father's Day coming up, they have something special for the father. So if you know a father or you are a father, it's preferred, you know, or you want to gift a father, that you answer. Celia, don't tell me is what you're getting yet. But you're going to be getting something that is for you as a father or for a father. And I want to ask the first person, so based on what we spoke about, I want to ask, and I know we're hearing a lot of negatives versus the positives, but give me just three positive aspects or attributes of modern day masculinity that we made mention of, that we see, that we want to celebrate and we think should be encouraged. So just 3 aspects or attributes. We just talked about it, so you must get it quick.
Yeah.
Colette, say you're hardly hearing me. Colette, I don't know. Other person said the volume is okay for them. So we're working on it. Colette. Let's move over to, I think, something that leads to some of the problems that we have.
Right.
So one of the things that lead to the problem is emotional well-being. So we have the symptom, but we want to get to the cause. And we believe that if you nurture men and their emotional well-being, and we encourage them to become emotionally intelligent and all of that, it will lead to a better man, lead to a better society. But
say it, Brian.
No, man. I just when you were growing up, Jayson,
right?
When you were growing up, what were the things you were told not to do that affected your emotional well-being? Don't what? Don't cry. Yeah, I don't know about you, but boy, enough to cry.
No, I
you got that.
I got that.
Yeah.
Well, that was dominant.
That's the most dominant.
Yeah. I can't remember much of other things, but that definitely was one. Even if it doesn't come out, even when you're being disciplined, flogged, if you're ballsy, it's like, but
yeah, What?
You know,
What I said, don't cry. What's you
it's
crying for?
you know, it's
Confused.
like, you know, another thing too is, I will say this, you know, I was a youth growing up and I played a lot. It's as though playing was a curse. You know, it's as though, what you play for? You play too much. But now being more educated, I understand that children must play. You know, and I don't think I was playing more than anybody else. It's just that sign of playing then seemed like time of wasting time.
Ramp too much.
You understand? And I think there is a link there with the whole emotional aspect of things, because if I don't get to play, you remove an outlet. So, yeah.
All right. Before we continue, I see you, Celia. Tiffany Lee Beckman, I think she put it all together. So I say Tiffany Lee Beckman is the winner of the first prize. Tiffany Lee Beckman. I'm sure you'll hear more from our Jane team. And I know whoever gets the gift will enjoy that gift. So yeah, we're talking about some of the ways and what were some of the things that we were socialized into. But when it comes down to mental health now, Steffon, so we're told to suppress the emotions. As a young boy, I don't know if you can go back, but what was your mental state hearing some of these things and being forced to suppress some of these things? It affected them, because we can always look back and say, no, it never bothered me then, but when I look back now, I realize, because to this day we don't communicate because we talk too much. Boy, Pitney, why are you talking so much?
That's a big one, girl.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big one.
Yeah. So I mean, I struggled with low self-esteem because of that. You know, it was really bad. You know, so don't cry, of course. But the other thing was, don't complain. Don't complain. Do something about it.
Fix it.
Right? So you're always in this solution. So you never get a time to even figure out what you're feeling. You know, there's this thing called the emotion wheel, and we don't just have the few emotions. We have resentment. We have all of these things, disappointment, all of these things. So we never find. So it's like we just jump over that step to even figure out what we're feeling, and in doing so, we don't even treat these things, these feelings the right way, because we haven't really understood what we're feeling to begin with. Another thing I heard was, you know, you always have to be doing something. So rest was like a curse. Like you always have to be working. You always have to find something to do. Find something to do. Always find something. Always have to do. Yeah, man. Always. So even now, even to this day, like if I wake up and I lie down in bed too much, my skin starts scratch me. I have to find something to do. And that was one of the things I had to challenge even in my adult life. Look, I just finished the PhD and I actually had to go to therapy, and that's one of the things I unpacked, because at no point in time did I stop. I did not stop. One thing after the other. My mother passed away. I got married, and then I finished the PhD, and I didn't stop at any point in time to try to figure out how I felt about any of those things, right? And that has an impact on men's well-being. We're just going, we're not expressing, or we're not trying to express in healthy ways. I won't say we need to express a lot in order to express, because I do feel like we express things very succinctly. It's just that sometimes people don't feel like it's enough when compared to the feminine standard. But when you talk about the barbershop, we talk, we express. When we talk about the bar, we talk, we express. When we talk about the football ground, when the match done, we talk and we express. It's just that we don't frame it as that. So it's a framing issue. It's not always an expression issue. It's a framing issue. And oftentimes we only have an expression issue within the context of an intimate relationship. That's one of the heaviest parts that you see this conversation about lack of expression coming out.
Gianna pointed out that one of the things we also were told, don't wear certain colors. Why you wearing?
Yeah, you're not supposed to wear pink.
Yeah. I remember when we found out we were having girls and #girl that first I remember it brought me back to the first time I wore a pink shirt to church, and you know the man named Trouble You. But now I wear it proudly. I don't care what you want to say.
Some people would say that's a part of the changing of the masculinity.
Yes.
Now, the
Some people
modern
would
day
say it's
masculinity.
bordering on femininity.
Yeah.
So, there's a post, Steffon, to follow up on your point that I saw going around recently. It said that it caused some controversy and it blew up. The person was saying, I don't remember exactly verbatim, but he said men should not be made to feel guilty for taking vacation and taking time off for self-care. And it so happened that I think the man decided to take a week off from work and just to go to the spa, spend some time doing stuff that make him not work at all, and he was chastised for it. So how can we promote and encourage self-care practices among our men and emotional intelligence? Let's stick with you first, Doc. What are some of the things we can do? Because I remember, Doc, I was grown to that lotion. I remember when I lotion mommy foot, I make sure lotion. But when I do in mine and I was telling my students, rough it up,
You must feel like everyone something.
When I go to the barber, I am supposed to feel like my face is on fire.
Yes.
Rough.
Nothing gentle.
No.
So you're right. Lotion was like growing up for a long time. Lotion in your foot was seen as a feminine thing. Isn't that terrifying? You can't even lotion your foot that much tough as a man. You can't. Yeah, man. That was the worst thing. That was the worst thing. But me and my brethren, them used to do this thing called self-care Saturday, which is you just do something for yourself. And when you approach it like that, it because men, we need a tribe, we need a group. So when we collectively agree that there's something we're doing, the value of it goes up. Self-care doesn't mean you need to go and get some money and a petty. If you decide to do that and that's what you want, that's fine. But it just means doing something for yourself. Because many men, the entire week is catering towards the significant other, the children, work, whatever the case. So, the self-care Saturday was just cutting out some space. If you want to lie down and do nothing at all for 2 hours, right? Do that, because listen, you can't, if even a fire needs oxygen. So you can't burn the oil if you don't take time to stop and breathe. You need oxygen. You need to breathe. You need to relax. You need to meditate. That is a very, very. That was one of the things that we started doing. I think we fell off a little bit, but I think it's very, very important, especially as a community, for men to decide, listen, this is space I'm going to take for myself, and I don't want nobody coming in.
I wrote that down recently to have a self-care Saturday, so I appreciate that. I think I'm going to implement it. I stayed home a day recently because I was just going through a lot mentally, and halfway through the day, not even halfway, I felt like a bum. I needed to be doing something. I felt like this is wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong. Michael says to this day he stays ashy because of that lotion thing. Michael, we know it.
There's hope though, Michael.
Yeah, there is hope. We are changing the norm. Estelle makes a point that I think is very interesting, that some of the children who tell some of the things regarding ramping too much or playing too much is coming from the plantation system, wherein playing meant idleness for children as they should be working on the plantation. This was handed down to us by 4 parents. Listen, there's a lot of re-socialization and re-culturalization that needs to happen for the changes that we want to see to make our society better.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the things we're trying to do.
I want to mention this though, Brian, that, it has to do with the point. I am so used to doing things for my family and not being away from my family, that I remember, based on the nature of what I do, I tend to go to a lot of meetings and stuff like that. And in those meetings, you really get, let me use it for example, a nice hotel and a meal and stuff. I would feel guilty.
Whoa.
I would feel guilty because I don't know if it's want or should. My children should be experiencing this. And I had to speak to myself and say, no, it's okay. And also I want to say this, that it's okay to, when you work your money, to spend something for yourself. You understand? It is okay to do that. And I think this notion of if you buy something for yourself, you're robbing your children. I think that is wrong. again, that's why it's good to have a community, because I link up with a brethren. As Doc said, and when you say you want to implement a Saturday, you can run these things by a brethren, and a brethren can say, no, man. You know, it's important to have that community to help. But just to say, I was at that place. Fortunately, I have a wife who give me that space, because I give her that space as well. But I remember that affected me so much until I had to read that thought. I said, no, man, not because you're eating a nice cocktail, mean say, boy, don't eat it, or me say, we can carry up some for your youth. Type of thing. Yeah, you can do that, yes. But the point is, don't feel guilty. That's right. Especially when you're not a bad, it's okay. Yeah. So I just wanted to make mention.
And I see Colette saying a lot of our men are so broken. I want us to understand the minds of our men. The pressures, heavy is the head that wear the crown. Our men are going through this and worse. The first time I got a manicure, I remember growing up, I said, I never get a manicure or a pedicure. That's not for me. That's not for men. Only time I'm going to do it is when I'm getting married. Yeah, the day before, or the 2 days before my wedding, that was the only time I should. Nails would grow, and if it would cut, you just break it off. Yeah? Something simple like that.
Brian, about 2 months ago, I got a pedicure.
Yeah.
When I used to teach, early 2000s, I got one for Teachers' Day. They went out, the staff. I've never received one until 2 months ago, and it's my wife said to me, I booked something for you. And when I went, Brian, I fell asleep.
Yes, man.
I said, I feel good.
Yes, man. Where's the feeling in the chair?
I fell asleep. I said, no, man. I can't, so tired. Man, for take care of themselves. Yeah. And big up to the wife, them recognize it and make the appointment for the man. Them sometimes we need that too.
Yes, listen. The first time I did a pedicure was because of my wife, man. Listen, man. Trust me.
Big up to the good woman, them.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. and my wife, she's instilled in my life something called husband. Every day. So all the women out there and all the men out there, make sure the women them know this. Every year, I don't know when, I don't know where, we have a husband day where it is just my day. She surprises me. I remember one year I went home and she says, pack your stuff, we're leaving in the morning. I'm like, what? What do you mean? She says, choose. So I choose the either or. And it said that we're leaving on a flight to go. I don't remember, we're New York or Orlando. I don't remember. And I'm like, huh?
Wow.
What? When we got there were gifts on the bed already waiting.
Wow.
She called my work and booked my leave. Yeah?
Wow. I'm sure you cried.
No, I didn't cry at that time. I didn't cry at that time. I was so happy and excited. I was shocked firstly.
Yes.
Because we are not used to these things.
No, we are not.
We're not told that these things are okay.
Husband day. Wow. I need to write that down.
Write it down, man. And then no, of course, you know, Steffon, if a lot of women who hear that, they're going to say, oh, so what happened to wife day? That's the first response I usually get. And my wife, don't worry, every day is wife day for me. So men, you have to make sure.
Big up yourself, Basilia.
Yeah, men, you have to make sure you do something to get something. All right, so don't bother running out if you're not doing the thing. All right. So we're encouraging self-care Saturdays. What else? One more. Give me one more. Well, not just Saturdays, but self-care routines.
Your routines. Have that community.
Community, yes.
Because you can't do self-care on your own, you know. You can have some me time on your own. But I encourage having a community. I am married 17 years. I'm a minister of the gospel, but I will never ever tell anybody, so, yeah, man, happily married for the entire 17 years. There are turbulent times. Yes. Because after a while, it stops the beauty. You know, yes, sex is sex. But there come some things where we were socialized differently. All of them things, they come into play. And if I never had a community where I can say, yeah, I am a man, even the whole thing when you come out to sex, among other things, you understand? Who can say, no, man, XYZ, you know, I went through this too. You know, yeah, man, you're going to have those days when you have certain type of argument, but this is how you need to approach it. Should do something that hurt you really bad. It's okay to feel that you hurt you. Don't think, so, boy, if you feel hurt, you know, it's legit.
Hurt? Men, you feel? You have emotions?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I like the sarcasm, you know. And so when you have friends who can, you know, and then they give a perspective too. So I think that is important. Have a community. All right?
Very important. So Steffon made mention of the barbershop and the football field. So have that community. Don't just wait until a match next year or, you know, some of us start planning for World Cup from now. But have a community. Have a WhatsApp
Brazil.
group. Yeah. Have a WhatsApp group. You know, No, Spain.
Brazil, say it again, Brian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's so focused on Spain.
They said that's a Freudian.
Spain. I was a Brazil fan, but when I was a child, I speak as a child. Now I am grown. All right.
Well, I pay all people up on Spain still. So.
This is going to get
Espana all the way, man. Espana all the way.
This is gonna get into a battle that we don't want to have.
Yes.
So we identifying some things, and I hope the men are listening. I hope the women are encouraging the men to take part in these things. Somebody made mention of the fact earlier that they like baldhead. No, bald is sexy, so big up to the men who are going bald and rocking it.
You mean receding or in a circle?
Well, you're receding, it will meet, It will meet.
Yes.
It's transition, man. It's a transition.
It's a transition.
From a boy to a man, from boys to men, right?
Yeah. Accept it, yeah?
Maureen admires men who do petty and money for themselves. Estelle says men need to fix up themselves. Rough heels and ugly looking fingernails are things of the past. It can turn off women. Kudos to the men who believe in fixing up themselves. Colette talking about setting aside food for her daughter at an event or at lunch, and she had to tell herself it's okay. So it's a cultural thing, not just men. So she said big up to Colette. Big up. Big up. All right. So let's get into the program. So we are sharing our views and some of the things that you can do as men. I want to add one. Talk to the woman in your life or the woman in your life, mommy, sister, about. So your community don't have to be just men, but find a woman who you can talk to and express that and tell her so she can help you to change some of the toxic things that are hurting you. Yeah? So my wife, she will help me to not do some things that, yes, it may seem like it's worth it now, but she will tell me, pause, stop. That husband day thing, the first time I said, no, where the money coming from? Yes. No.
And the mother house.
I didn't sign off on this, right? Sign with pain, much money for pain. I have a future plan, And she said, babe, you need to let me take care of you. I remember, I tell people that there was a time in my life I didn't smile anymore. If she have a sister, her sister is married already. So you saw it. She said, she brought back the smile in my life, and she had to teach me, I'm a giver. Yeah, my friends, everybody, I just believe in giving. She had to teach me how to receive.
Yeah.
So men, we have to learn. We have to learn to receive. But let's talk about some of the programs and the initiatives. Sir Jayson, I want you to go first here. Okay. Some of the initiatives and the programs where men can feel safe and that can encourage men and encourage boys to change some of these things in Jamaica.
All right, so you look at my shirt, it's Mogava, which stands for Men of God Against Violence and Abuse. Over the years, we have done several programs, but the one we have now is very specific towards it's taking a biopsychosocial-spiritual approach.
Hold on.
Steffon, biopsychosocial-spiritual approach.
It's a holistic approach.
Yeah. All right, yeah. So what we do is currently we partner with 2 schools in the corporate area where we go in and partner with the guidance department where they identify boys who might have some maladaptive behavior, at-risk youths and stuff. And then we go in and we do individual personal development sessions. And when there needs to be behavior modification, we use CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. So we use that, but a part of that is the rapport and try to give boys, young men, that safe space. Also, a part of the program is for inmates who have been released, but are struggling with certain emotions. So, for example, a week ago, an inmate who has been released a year now, he was incarcerated for well over 10 years. The issues that he was battling with, he never get therapy or anything for that, or it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So in coming out, the rubber meets the road.
Yes.
And the triggers are there, and he needed to know to deal with that. So the Anangat space, the Anangat program created that space for him to come in. So that's what we do right now. And we have a radio program, we have all of that. But this we consider a baby because we want to go to the root cause. And I think psychotherapy using CBT among other therapeutic modules will help us to get there.
And you didn't talk to me before and we didn't plan this, but I know you might be looking some sponsorship and some more continued support. And
No, definitely.
Let me just blink at my Jane family.
Yeah, man, blink at
to
them.
see how they
Definitely.
can reach out, because this is important.
Yeah, man.
This is important.
Definitely.
Steffon, what about you?
Well, first and foremost, I want to commend you on that program. That is fascinating.
Thanks.
And I like how you've taken the holistic approach, because the men and human beings are multidimensional, and so tackling it from different elements or different dimensions is so very important. So please keep that going out. I would love to find out more of that.
Yes.
There was, there's Fathers United. Fathers United used to, help fathers, in terms of training of how to be a better dad, how to be a better man. There's also the Caraman Network, which is but also something I want to encourage, and it's something that we did in real time. I see my brother Michael Natu is online as well, but the podcast that we created was literally us creating a safe space for ourselves. So it's something that we need to encourage men to do. Create that safe space for yourself. You don't need to sit and wait for it. Right? You can be proactive. You want something to create the space for yourself. You see something that's going on, you empathize with other men. I think we need to start encouraging men to create these spaces for themselves. And so programs like these are excellent, but I think it's also important to show and teach men how to, it's kind of reclaiming it. We call it locus of control, that reclaiming that external locus of control, and understanding that you have the ability to create that change in your own life. And rope in some brethren, one of the things, the positive things that we need to encourage is fitness, staying active, working out. Listen, it does wonders. It helps to balance the chemicals in your mind, in your brain, and in your body, and all of these things. And when you feel better, when you look better, you feel better, right? And we can't take away that physical element of it. And especially if you're thinking about being the best person you can be for your family.
Yes.
If you're more active and you're fit, you can actually be a better father, and you can actually be a better spouse. So things like these are things we should definitely encourage in the Jamaican landscape, but in the wider Caribbean as well.
And some time ago, I emceed a function for one in Manchester, developing able dads.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that.
Very, very, when I see stuff like those, I
remember that. I remember that.
It's so important that we have these initiatives and these programs. But continuing on that breath, Steffon, when you talk about, when exercising together, what can family members do? I know a lot of women are here. What are some of the things they can do and encourage the men that will help, the boys to men to help?
So Father's Day is coming up, and as much as you want to buy the daddy socks and tie, there are other things that you can do.
Yes, tools.
All of
drill set.
You see, all of those things still implies that the man's life and existence is linked to others, right? So you buy the tie and the sock because he's a worker and a provider. You buy the tools because he needs to always fix something in the house. And mind you, some men like these things. So it's not that. But have you ever considered something outside of those norms? Have you ever considered something outside of cologne? Have you even just studied the man to try to understand or have a conversation? But I've heard women say that it's hard to even talk to the man because most men are givers. They don't know how to receive gifts, so they don't even know what to ask for. But get him man a little, a fitness set, some dumbbells, some adjustable dumbbells, something outside of the norm that can actually help him be himself. And of course, the manicure, pedicure, the packages and all of those things are fine. But outside of those things, I really think we need to spend more time trying to give gifts and support men in ways that are not the typical ways. Another thing that we need to do, especially women, You see, when a man expresses himself, don't read into it. There are men who they have expressed themselves, as I said, very succinctly or very clearly, but you read into it and put your meaning on top of it. And then the man just say, you know what, I can't bother, I'm not saying nothing again. Right?
Just
Right? So,
dissect.
because in other words, you want me to express in the same way that you express. And I'm telling you, I cannot express that. So meet me at this point.
Yes.
Right? So and so even if it's to say, well, I don't get the full picture. I don't understand it completely, but thank you for saying that. It's a start. And I'm here, and whenever you need to talk, we can work through it. A road trip, just ask the man to go for a drive. You'd be surprised how much men still they got. You know, just because, you know, and even in therapy, one of the issues is that therapy isn't appealing to men because they have to confront the issues head on. Many men are not able to do that. That's why we go to the barber shop for a haircut and we happen to talk. We go to the bar to drink and we happen to talk. So if you go on a road trip, we are go for a drive and we happen to talk. Instead of saying, we need to talk about this, or why you not talk about this?
Men need to hear that, ladies. Babe, we need to talk.
No.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, no. You know, so I think those two things are very important when it comes to building the man or helping the man express himself or become a healthier man in general.
Some men are willing to communicate. I hope you're listening, ladies, but we communicate differently.
Yeah.
Yes. You come home from work. How was the day, babe? Boy, did you rough, you know? That's all? Huh? And I bet you say when you talk with your friends, you continue.
Oh Lord, that level of comparison.
You want the man pull up in here and say, babe, come sit beside, let me tell you all about it.
Yes, you don't talk to me.
Not like that.
You know, you that mentions something. So in my approach to whether it's mentorship of a young man or an adult that come to me and their issues, one of the approach I take is, as he mentioned, men don't like to hear you get counseling or you need this. One of the approach I use is, I'm into cars. Most men are. And sometimes say, come and go chill. And we're not going to chill for me to interrogate you. We're just chilling. And naturally, conversations happen. And man talk. Boys talk. And then after hanging and chilling, you build a rapport, you build moral authority, and it becomes easier for them to express. Men listen to men. And so that is important. Also, I want to we mention wives, girlfriends, significant other. When we express ourselves, we want to know that you hear us. We want to know that, you know, you're listening. It goes both ways. It's like it just goes silent and okay. We want to hear more than just okay. You know, we want to get a sense that it connects. You understand? And I think that is important. We like to feel that sense of what we're taking is taken seriously.
Yeah. I was listening to TD Jakes recently, and one of the things he was making mention of the fact is we are supposed to talk to not be offensive, listen to not be defensive, and if there is a fight somewhere in between that conversation, make sure that both persons leave feeling okay. Don't tear down nobody, don't let anybody leave defeated. I think that is one of the issues that is affecting a lot of our communications, because we talk to cause offense. Me hurt, so me want him know what me feel, and him need to know and he need to feel it too. And then when we are listen now, we are listen ready for defend. Or him just say, all right, I'm right, that don't make a mental note because I'm going to tackle it.
Yeah, and even we were taught to use the I statement, which not always easy to use the I statement. I feel this way whenever it's not, we don't normally use that because we want to know how you do it, as you say. You know, type of thing. But it takes practice. Yeah.
Thank you. Colette makes mention of the fact that we need to know each other's love language so that we can, you know, respond to the love language or respond with the love language in depending on the case. Maureen also made mention of the fact that there is First Friday for men and women. Not sure if such a group is in Jamaica, but it is in Canada. So men and women can become members. So there are things out there, and we are at a next giveaway, and we made mention of several initiatives and programs. So I want you to write 3. I don't know, and 3 of us on, so maybe we'll just work it with 3. 3 of the initiatives or the programs that exist because we want you to share it with other men. We want to share it outside of our meeting today. 3 programs or initiatives that exist based on what we said for men to become better men. Yeah. All right. So we wait. No, hold on. I just finished and I look back and I see Omar Miller. Omar Miller. All right, hold on, Lord G. Omar Miller is right. Omar Miller is correct. Men of God Against Violence and Abuse, Mogava. Fathers United, Carryman Network. No, Omar, what is the biggest prize you have seen? Give it to Omar. Give it to Omar, all right? We're wrapping up, and I believe we've gone up the hill. And we need to come down now so we can have healthier relationships going forward. And we just spoke about some of them, but we're going into it now. So there are things that are affecting us as men from having and enjoying healthier relationships. Some of them have to do with communication and how we believe things should be said and done. But how or what are some of the challenges that we talk about them already, I think we talk about them, but there may be more, Doc. Other challenges that exist in stopping a healthy relationship. So we just spoke about the communication one, because men communicate differently. We don't have a problem with that. When you go barbershop sometime, you're there for hours, you go for all that trim, but when the conversation sweet, worse if a EPL finals, what Chelsea should have won. But Doc, don't answer that part about man, you're not being good, Doc. What are some of the other challenges you see that are stopping us from having healthy relationships?
One of the biggest things is that many men do not know themselves. They have not spent any time with themselves to even know themselves, much less what I need in a relationship. Right? So their existence is defined by what they can give, right? And what the other person requires and what the other person desires, but not what they need. And that's something I advocate for, that men spend time with themselves, right? It's so the notion of happy wife, happy life. It's about giving. Right? So there's nothing that you get back. And you mentioned TD Jakes. TD Jakes had the analogy of the 2 glasses in a relationship, and if one glass pours out everything in, so if half a glass pours out into another half a glass, then one glass is full and another glass is empty. So you have a lot of men who are walking around empty in their relationship because they've only been taught to pour out and not to receive. Wow. Right? And that is something that harms relationships. So then the man shut down completely, right? And I tell women, you see, when a man stop argue and him stop say anything at all, you've lost that man. He not even defend himself, he not even argue. Anything you say, babe, that man is an empty vessel. And on top of that, then the badgering, why you not talk? And so if you weren't listening to the man in the 2 years or how much ever years in the relationship before, and he shuts down completely, and then you start badgering on top of that, it just makes it worse. And that is one of the biggest challenges in our relationships from the male perspective. So I really encourage men, spend some time before you verbalize what you want. You need to figure out what you want, and is it healthy, and why you want it, and where did it come from? Who taught you that these are the things you're supposed to want, right? And how do you ask for these things? And even when you ask for these things, do you feel uncomfortable? Because there's the fear of repercussion lingers heavily in young boys and men. Fear of repercussion and fear of rejection. So you're afraid to ask for what you want because you don't want the woman to blow up and say she not get that, she can't get that, and all of those things. So you just stay quiet and you keep doing the automatic thing, which is give until you're depleted.
I don't remember where it was, but I think it was a podcast. I think I was making it last podcast that I heard somebody ask, they would say, "Who are you, Jayson?" And Jayson would say, I am Reverend Jayson Downer from Mogava. I'm also an author. And the person, no, who are you? And them say, well, I am a father. Who are you? And they said, I'm somebody who loves to have fun. I'm somebody who loves so. And we are, a lot of us as men, we are not who we are who society
Society,
tells us to
yes,
be.
yes,
And
yes.
what we need to do to make sure that the family survives. So that's powerful, Doctor. I thank you for that. You wanted to add anything there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you earlier you said it and you never elaborated on it much more. I'm a giver, and growing up in church, you hear give of yourself. But my type of giving of myself is even to my detriment sometimes. And so, yeah. And so I've learned that to say no is okay. You know, no, it's okay. It's rough sometimes. So the no might not come out. It's more like, let me get back to you. But start somewhere. Because self-preservation and also self-preservation is key. But the self-preservation is not just for yourself, it's for the sake of your family and your children. So know when to say no. And it's not just with doing favors, but also when it comes on to work. I think it's important to know when to stop and take it easy. And I think that's something I had struggled with until burnout stepped in. And the burnout affected everything and everyone. So I just wanted to mention that I think that is very important.
So men have to know that, because when you're burnt out, you can't say, "No, mom, you deal with it. I'm fine." But burnout now affects your relationship with your children, relationship with your partner, relationship with your workplace, relationship
everything.
with church, and so many men in church.
Burnt
Work, burn out, family life gets destroyed, relationship get destroyed.
Yeah.
And then they are left, sadly, by some of the churches left by themselves. And the same church will say, "What, you never see so and so and so." You know, practice a yard before you practice abroad. I say, learn to press the brakes and take a break before you break.
All right, sir.
And I've come close to breaking. I think all the men on this panel at some point in time, because of how Steffon made mention of it earlier, when he lost mom and got married, then PhD, then just keep going.
Just going.
If we don't press the brakes, we are gonna break. And that is what is affecting a lot of our families. We are broken men in a marriage trying to fix it and to make it whole.
Yeah, try to keep it together. Yeah, it doesn't work.
All right, we're wrapping up. We made mention of the fact that the media is a big issue as it relates to toxic masculinity. We made mention of the fact that there are things that perpetuate toxic masculinity in the home. How can we address them? What can we do? I'll ask each to take one. Who wants to take the parenting? How can we reparent our parents? And the next person take, how can we get the media to not only reflect society, but shape society how it needs to be? Which one you want to take, Doc?
I'll take the media one. I'll let the goodly pastor take the
I'm happy for that. Kind of want to say. All right. I mean, parenting is not. There's a term I learned 2 years ago. So we know it's a fact that most of the household in Jamaica is led by a mother or a grandmother. Yes. And so it speaks to the dynamics of relationships and families. I don't want to say the typical Jamaican man, but many Jamaican men, they go to a lady, child comes, for whatever reason, the relationship break up. He moves on, and typically the child stays with the mother. I think we need to understand more co-parenting. You understand?
Yeah.
And be able to separate roles. So we understand the dynamics of the nuclear family being there, but with data pointing to what happens with single parent family, one parent is not there so much. We need to now understand that the fact that the woman and myself not living together, or the man not live with the woman, should not affect the quality relationship that the child has with the parents. And so I will encourage the parents out there to separate roles. Even if you live under the same roof, right? And there are marital issues, man and woman thing, intimacy issues, as much as is possible, try not to let that affect the raising of your children, your son or your daughter, or both. Because what we are seeing personally, as a counselor, what I am seeing, a lot of it stems right back to dysfunctional families, etc., that has to do with the family. So I want to leave it right there.
Well, I don't even know if we understand what co-parenting in terms of the Jamaican context, because when I hear of co-parenting overseas versus what I see what should be co-parenting in Jamaica, it's a different thing. You know, co-parenting isn't even just, you know, you spend time here, then you spend time here. Some of the things we are ingraining in our children, especially our young men. You know, you got to turn like a walkless pooper and make sure when you go over there for your weekend, you know, pick up this, and if you come back with any dirty.
And let me say this, more and more people are talking about getting a mediator or a counselor. If you find that you can't agree with the mother of your child, or if you find that you can't agree with the father of your child, or you're having issues, get help.
But how
seek advice.
Jamaican men, you know.
No. When I say get help, let me tell you something. One thing I believe that, and I see more and more because I kind of work in the education sector, is that when a guidance counselor calls for a father to come in, they tend to come in. So if as a mother you're getting certain information or it's a certain behavioral issues taking place, and it tends to plays out at school, use that low-hanging fruit, that thing that you can reach nearest, the guidance counselor, and say, can you call in the father to come in as well? That can create a space that's not church, it is not a counseling center, it now has to do with the school. And if we can meet on that mutual space, then possibly we can find something in common, or the guidance counselor who is trained should be able to skillfully identify or show to us, reveal to us the importance of being on the same page for the sake of the child. Co-parenting is not just, okay, at the court, I must pay 30,000 for child's and I must see him him or her every other week. That's legalistic in a sense. There has to be a bit more to it, but it requires putting away of ego, and something that's not really easy to do because hurt is real. You understand? In cheaper me, so I don't want my child around him because he might learn to cheat too, type of thing. You know, no, mommy, put that away for the sake of the child. Stop trying to influence the view or the perspective the child has of his father. My father was in prison growing up, and my mother or family never ever tried to paint an image of him. I knew he was in prison. She allowed me to grow into an acknowledgement of who he is as a person. Now, somebody had mentioned if it's toxic and it's harmful, that's a different story. We're not talking about that. But give room for the child to build a relationship and get to know themselves. And we have to put aside our differences for the sake of the youth. There's something there.
Wow, thank you. And I hope those watching, you're going to share this with a father, you're going to share this with a mother, even just some of your friends, because a lot of times we say men don't talk, but here the men are talking, and I want you to share it so that we can help the men in our society by virtue that will help our nation. Steffon, over to you with the media now.
The big one.
So the first thing is, and especially, I think it's tied into parenting as well, but media literacy. And we have a serious issue with media literacy in the entire society, or in our societies. The fact that we take media content at face value, we don't critique or question. And that is something that we have to actively embark on. I know the Broadcasting Commission, it actually had a project in terms of teaching media literacy. Countries like, I think it's either Sweden or Norway, they actually incorporated pornography into the sex ed program because they use it as an opportunity to challenge stereotypical notions and within pornography, because there was the understanding that the children will eventually have access to it in some way, shape, or form. So we have to challenge it head on. We can't skirt around the issue, no pun intended, right? We have to challenge it head on. We can't go around it. So media literacy, saying to the child, I see you looking at this video. Let's talk about it. What is attractive about it? What is appealing? Like why is it attractive to you? And that goes from music videos to movies to cartoons to video games. Let's unpack that. And as I said, research will tell you it has an inoculating effect. Just like, inoculation when it comes to vaccination, because now the child is able to discern and tell the difference between what is reality and entertainment, and what is between reality and entertainment. The other thing that we have to do when it comes to media, and this is on the production side, media practitioners have to portray a wider range of masculinity and masculine traits beyond the stereotypical, right? No two men are alike. And media and portrayals tend to make it seem like every man is the same. And that limits the interest of young boys and men to be and become themselves, right? And also men need to start getting into creating their own content that expresses and represents their views. Last semester, I taught a course called Introduction to Men and Masculinities. And I did away with the paper, and every student had to create a podcast episode where they interviewed a Caribbean man. And it was, I got 106 podcast episodes, right? Ranging from 15 minutes to 2 hours. And those things I tell you are fascinating, because in those podcasts is actual content of men challenging notions or unpacking things real time, questions that they were never asked in their life, that they were able to challenge and have that conversation. And these things can now be disseminated on a platform so that other men and even women can learn from content like this. So those three things within the context of media.
Yeah, it's so interesting. We tell people to be themselves, but as you say, a lot of the notions that are shown as it relates to masculinity is the same. So a lot of men not seeing themselves represented, so them never bother watch. When you started your podcast, I don't know what the challenges you had, but you won't have men generally watching. You won't have men generally commenting till them probably watch one episode or somebody send it to them and them say, "Oh, this is for me."
They
It's
can
not the
identify
norm,
with it.
right? It's not the norm. Because even today, I don't know if we can do a quick poll or a quick check, Celia, and just tell me how many men are in the chat versus how many women are participants. And you're gonna see it's just stuff like that. It shows, because men don't really view these types of settings as for us. But the truth is, when you see it out there, you will know and you will get the change and be a part of the change going forward. Yeah? So let's change it. Let's change it. Before we went live, we had again, I say it's a full circle thing. And the JN family, they don't just bring things to the air. They talk about it. It's a part of them. They're having the discussions. Sir Markland was a part of this and leading the charge. We want to talk about educational institutions, community organizations, government entities, how they can promote and change healthy relationships and stereotypes about masculinity. One of the things we touched on earlier, was as it relates to abuse. So if a boy or a man is being abused, you find it really rare that they'll go and report it anywhere. Yeah, we would definitely not go into the police station, because we've heard of stories where you were laughed at, you were criticized, you were asked, why are you bringing this to the state? This is something you should be able to deal with and manage. Don't bring it, you're going to waste our resources. So let's look at the wider government organizations and the officials out there. What are some of the things that they can do? And I'm going to go with Steffon first, Rev, to change those things. Why is it even important for them? They might say, some of them men are too soft. Yeah. So
Listen, so the thing about it, men are the leading perpetrators of violent crimes. Men are the leading victims of suicide, leading perpetrators of abuse. So investing in healthy men actually contributes to a healthier society and a safer society. So it's not just allowing the man to express for expressing sake. It literally has an impact on him and other people in the society, right? The gender policy that we have predominantly speaks to women's issues, and understandably so, right? But there must be a space for unpacking and really understanding the experiences of man. I mean, I focus specifically on suicide because it was literally a matter of life and death. And the suicide policies mention suicide twice in 100 and some page document, right? Nothing else in terms of addressing and understanding the things that men go through. So on the government and the policy side, if we're really serious about making any change in our society, we really need to start understanding men without any preconceived notions. So sometimes we have programs, we design programs without even talking to the men. And that's why the man them don't show up. Because you sit down in a boardroom and you say, all right, the man them wants some mentor. And you create a mentorship program and you go to a community. And oftentimes you only go to inner city communities, assuming that it's only inner city communities and inner city boys that are responsible for all the problems in our society. That is very stereotypical and it doesn't actually solve the problem. You need to go uptown, downtown, all the streets,
Halfway
right? Everywhere, right? And speak to men and understand the range of issues before you create a policy, because it happens so many times. You create a program, you invest money, 2 man show up, you was expecting 20,000, and you said the man them not interested in none of them. Something. Did you even ask? Right? Research will tell you walk-in counseling sessions work better for men than counseling that they have to schedule. Because in the moment where they're feeling something, they want to be able to talk to somebody without the pressure of or the anxiety of thinking, oh Lord, I have this date coming up and all of these things, and then eventually the man come up with the excuse not to go to the counseling session, but walk in counseling sessions. Things that kind of diffuse the anxiety and all of these things work a lot better. So do we have these things? I don't think we have as much as we need to, right? Open doors, open spaces, open environment that a man can say, yo, so me I preach some evil things and me just want to talk to somebody, right? You don't even know how much I literally heard that conversation in a barber shop. This man was talking about, how much we want to do to a woman because the woman get her fun. And the barber and everybody in the barber shop say, yo, you really are going to sacrifice your freedom for the woman? And you understand me? And so they literally taught that man off a ledge. And by the end of the conversation, the man will say, a true man, a real talk, right? Mind you, that's not what he was going for, but he just started to express. Imagine if we had these open doors, open spaces, without any appointments that could allow for men to just walk in and deal with things as they come. That would make a big, 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 big difference. Another thing that men need to start doing a lot more is writing down. There's a concept called writing for healing. A journal. It doesn't have to make sense, and you don't even need to show it to anybody, but to make sense of your emotions and your feelings. Just write it down, talk it away. Nobody else has to know about it. Those things help. And someone mentioned enslavement and what it had, the impact it had. That was colonialism was structured. It was methodical. So if you want to re-socialize men, it has to be just as or even more structured or methodical than anything else that we've experienced in the past.
Oh, wow. To reiterate, what the takeaways is investing in a healthy man leads to a healthy society. And the fact, based on what you're saying, that a lot of, yes, we need the structuring, but men have a responsibility too. Men, there are things you have to do.
Yeah. One of the things I hear the government has been doing is, for example, paternity leave. I endorse that. Yes. There has to be some safeguards though, so I endorse something like that. I must say though, with concerns with mental health, physical health, for example, prostate cancer and those things, I think the government relies too much on regular means of reaching men. What do I mean? go where men are. So over the height of COVID, things was really bad, and they get talks that domestic violence is on the increase. I was asked to come up with an initiative to reach men. Now, I'm into cars, and I realized that there was an increase in vloggers talking about cars. And so we created what is called Cars and Conversations, where we took a Pro Box and we start modify it a bit and stuff. And in between the modification, looking at the engine and stuff, we bring up conversation about anger and stuff like that. And let me tell you, when you see the views and the response by men, so I am saying to tackle some of these issues or to get the messaging out, go where men are. That's one. Two, things when it comes on to domestic violence, when you have women carrying the message or trying to reach men, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot. There are enough men out there who are equipped, and furthermore, men listen to men, to go to men and have this conversation. Because we can identify when we get angry, yet how we decide to deal with the situation. You understand? So I'm saying utilize men some more. The next point is this, and this goes for corporate as well as government. Men's initiatives need funding. Yeah, we need funding. There are a lot of money out there, as there should be, for women and girls. A lot. And we support that.
Yes, we do.
Definitely. But we need funding. In a situation where it's family, let me use the term family violence, because sometimes we say, when a woman will say, he beat me, a man will say, no, we had a fight. Because in his head, she hit on him first and he's just responding or defending himself, and him say, a fight to their fight. That's how some men view it. Now, when you put pretty much all the resources, I'm talking government and corporate, when you put all the resources towards just the victim, what happened to the perpetrator? He will repeat the offense. And so I am saying, put some funding there, so as that mentioned, the walking space can be operational and sustained. So I want to put that out there without going over anything else. We need the resources, go where men are for the messaging, and get men to reach men. Peace and love.
So the problems exist, solutions have been offered. So it's time for us to work with them and see how best we can make things better. Maureen making mention of that some of these programs need to be free, because only person with money can attend some of them if they have it. To touch on the point that you guys just made, recently my department at school, we had a community convo, that's what we call it, and we went into communities and we had a football match, and in the halftime and at the end of the match, there were questions that were asked relating to, like, even anger. You got a yellow card and you feel like the referee shouldn't have done it. You know, what was your response and what should you do? And it started a conversation. So stuff like that. It starts in smaller circles.
There you go.
So I must big up Miss McDonald, who was the lead on that, and our chair, Miss Bailey, of course. So there are things that we have to do, that the solutions are out there.
No, they are there.
Yeah,
they are there.
So it's just for us to identify them and then expand them and get a better nation, get a better world.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. All right. Wow. Can't believe we've been talking for so long. And somebody was suggesting that, you know, who can really talk for so long? Somebody. I'm not calling any names.
That's right.
Somebody, right. But we have to check in with you guys as well. So we're going to be launching another poll to see how you are now versus how you were at the beginning. You know, so we want to hear from you. We want to see. And I do believe that everybody would have garnered and gained knowledge and something from this that will help to make them better. My mood has improved since the start of this live class. Yes, no, sort of. Just ignore the no, because we know that it has improved. Right? Did the class provide you with new insights and understanding about the challenges and the expectations relating to masculinity in Jamaican society? Next question says, how likely are you to actively promote and support initiatives that aim to encourage healthy expressions of manhood in Jamaican society? I have registered. If you see, the life class don't stop. It's not a half a circle. It's not a half. It's not a
full
arc. It's not a half. It's a full. So it continues. And this is something that's been going on for a good while now. And doing this, so yeah, register for this week. Register for next week. Or encourage somebody else to register for next week. And then, what did you expect from this class? Did you receive it in totality, partially? And if partially, maybe we need to, Celia and the team, they're going to do a part 2 of Boys to Men. Because Boys to Men had many songs, I don't know if we're going to have Steffon closing with a Boys to Men song.
And the song is very emotional too.
Yeah. You're going to sing it? All right.
No,
so
I never said, I never.
We're going to ask you to just prepare if you need the lyrics. Let us know.
Not at all.
Next week's topic is an unprotected generation, exploitation and harassment of Jamaican youth. Right? And I will be back and I'm looking forward to seeing you and hearing from you. An unprotected generation. Heavy. Jane life class, not just doing some stuff that everybody doing. We're doing heavy lifting.
Disruptive discussions, man.
So that we can have a change in society. So, the poll is up. Let's see what you're saying. Doc, any final words before we go? Oh, we have, everybody ready, man. Hold on, Doc, hold on. Save it. And Rev, save your final word as well. So let's go to number 1. I love how our persons inside the Zoom are working. My mood has improved since the start of this live class. Yes, 75% says yes, 16% says sort of. So the majority, overwhelmingly, they have improved. So big ups to you, Doc and Rev. But just 9%, not, if you stay around with us a little longer, I'm sure it will change. Did the class provide you with new insights and understanding about the challenges and expectations relating to masculinity in Jamaican society? Again, majority says yes again, new insights, and some of them said it reinforced what they already knew. How likely are you to actively promote and support initiatives that aim to encourage healthy expressions of manhood in Jamaican society? And the majority, 75% says very likely, 22% says somewhat likely. So we're looking forward to seeing you promoting JN Life Class and all of the initiatives Mogava has and all of the other organizations. I've registered for next week. Listen, not one person said no. So looking forward to seeing all of you next week. And for those who said, I'm about to, I'm just going to give you 5 seconds to go. I know you're going to say, I'm about to, but then you sit down and listen and you don't do it. So I'm just giving you 5 seconds. You got it?
Definitely.
Waiting on you. All right, good. And finally, I received what I expected from this class. Everybody said they received what was expected, either totally or mostly. And again, if we had more time, I'm sure you would say fully. So, congratulations to Dr. Campbell and Reverend Downer for doing an amazing job as JN expected, as we expected, as we knew you guys would have. What are your closing words, Rev?
Firstly, thanks for this opportunity, to share, to serve, and to have this frank discussion. No bars hold. And I just want to encourage the man them out there to take this role of fathering pretty seriously, particularly modeling. To the mothers out there, continue to be the good mothers that you are. For those who, for whatever reason, you're creating a wedge between the father and child, talk to somebody to help you to deal with that, and because it's about the child. And there's an improvement in fathering, good fathering. It's definitely not where we want it to be, but we're grateful for that it's trending up. And to the man them, finally, own your space, right? And just say to yourself, anybody who comes in that space, you are going to kind of take them on. Mentor, men, MENT, taking on our responsibility. Pick up yourself.
Wow, love that. And he made mention of the fact about modeling. So you have the men who sit down and they will not do nothing, watch TV. But help your mother, watch TV.
No. I watch Chelsea lose.
Even just talk about Chelsea. Listen. I need Doc, please to counsel. To bring me down.
Yes.
Never say Chelsea a while ago. Remember, I don't have the last word. Go ahead, Doc. What do you want to share?
I mean, first thing, don't support Chelsea. That is number one.
Yeah, what is it? Have a good evening, everybody.
I love that.
But in all seriousness, we need to listen to men. I'm talking about spouses, family members, society, government. We need, when I say listen, not just listen when them talk, actively try to understand, active listening, understand what they're going through, their experiences, again, without any preconceived notions, without trying to fit them in a box. Only then can we really provide the type of support needed for men. That's on the external. Internally, men, you need to connect with yourself, reconnect yourself, fall in love with yourself, love the man that you are, and love the and just have some goals and dreams for yourself that's not necessarily linked to anybody else. Take some time for yourself. Rev said, that space, own that space. Focusing on yourself is not a selfish thing. I made a post last week. Don't let anybody feel like self-love is selfish love. It is not. Even Christ said, love others as much as you love yourself, which means that you need to know how to love yourself before you love other people.
There you
So
go.
don't feel guilty about it. Do not feel, when you are better, everyone around you becomes better, right? So please don't hesitate, don't feel guilty to connect and reconnect with yourself. It helps. It helps you, it helps your health, helps your mental health, your physical well-being, it helps your family, it helps your children, it helps the society on a whole. So that's my 2 cents. And again, thank you for this conversation. It was so important. I'm so glad and grateful that Jane decided to have this, and thank you for allowing me to share the space. Rev and Brian, you were excellent as a facilitator of the session.
Ditto.
Yes. Happy to be a part of this esteemed panel. Big ups to you, Doc. Jane team, next time we have Steffon on, we're going to say Dr. Reverend Steffon, because he sounded like he was preaching. The Bible says, Jesus said,
Yeah, man, especially when he gave that Chelsea punchline.
All right, so we come to the end of JN Life Class, JN Circle Life Class for today. I want to thank you all for joining. Thank you in the Zoom. I see the participants saying it was a job well done. They really appreciate it. They really enjoyed it. I see my aunt, Amarel Wholeness. Thank you for all sharing. Doing a good job. Elizabeth saying enjoyed the session. It was edifying. Colette says thank you for a very informative session. Samantha, thank you for sharing. She's appreciative of what you all are doing. And the most beautiful woman in the world saying thank you, gentlemen, for an insightful episode.
Was that my wife? My wife?
That is my wife. Can we just mute the other mics right now? I'm doing my outro, right? And I will close by saying this. Where there is help. Men, you can be better. We can have a better nation, better households, better families, but it starts with us. And ladies, yes, support us when we're trying to make the change. Don't tear us down. I'll point out before we close, so get ready to bring up the music and everything, because I don't want nobody to talk when I'm finishing up. Most of the men in here are wearing blue. This Honor Angad is in blue. Steffon, I'm sure there's something blue behind it, that's why I'm up on the virtual background. Celia is wearing blue. Jane, blue. Look at it. Chelsea. I love you all. Thank you for being here, and go forward with victory, just like Chelsea will next year.
Blessings.
Where are you? Thank you. Bye, guys. Bye.
All right, no worries. This mix up and making a man like that real kid from a record machine to the sound when I was seeing Biggie Rock and comedians I will tell you. Down in the middle this nigga jump on twist, speaking of this, tell you about it. Sometimes it's hard, but try and you make it. Believe you me. In order to achieve, go forth and take it. Set yourself free. With obstacles in your way, you may fall before you rise. But if you really want good, your nose off the run. So get up and keep your eyes on the prize. So as part of your plan, you feel your ambition, and the Almighty one.